Welcome back to Journeyballaholic, the best talk show for basketball addicts. I'm your host, General Hannibal X. Now, in this journey, we're going to be discussing the breaking news. We got the LA Lakers, my Lakers squad, and Andre Drummond. And then you got the Brooklyn Nets. They went out there and doubled down, not only getting just Blake Griffin, they got Lamarcus Aldridge to join the big three in Brooklyn. So we got to break this thing down, man. Let's see who we got in the chat, man. Listen, I don't know about y'all. I'm excited, bro. I am absolutely excited because the NBA, this is why I love the NBA so much. This is why I love the NBA so much. You've got super teams, and be very clear, these are both super teams. And for those who may, who may not like the super team build, this has been going on since the NBA's been around. You go back to the 60s with the Boston Celtics, with Bill Russell and Bob Cousy and, come on, man. Wilt Chamberlain, Jerry West, Elgin, super teams have been around. But now things are a little bit different because now the players, they're taking it to their own destiny. And listen, you gotta love it, man. So with Andre Drummond coming to the Lakers and Lamarcus Aldridge going to the Nets, we gotta break this thing down. Let's see who we got in the chat. So you got Jason. What's going on, Jason? Let's see, Bad Boy for Life. Yeah, absolutely. We got Drummond. Fetty Wap Bucks just got Jeff T. Good pickup for them, for sure. Listen, man, we're going to jump into this thing. First of all, I appreciate everybody for joining the live. Go ahead, make sure we hit the like button. Let's tap that like button, smash it so we can get this YouTube to share this with everybody that's out there. We got to get these numbers up. Now, we're going to start right here. First of all, let me turn this off because I want to make sure that everybody is on the same page, okay? Right now, what we just saw happen over the weekend, we just saw the two most, when it comes to the Vegas odds, the two biggest favorites, the Lakers and the Nets, prior to this weekend, those were the favorites. We just saw both of them add pieces that makes both of these teams better. Now, I want to start with the Brooklyn Nets because the Brooklyn Nets move went down first, right? Now, adding Lamarcus Aldridge, I'm going to be honest with you, it was a complete shock, total shock for me because I didn't think they really needed him. When they added Blake Griffin, to me, that filled that power forward spot that they had been missing. Because remember, starting the season off, they were trying to play Kevin Durant at the power forward. Then they tried to play some Jeff Green there. Neither one of those are real true power forwards is going to man that spot where you're going to win a championship with one of them as your power forward spot. So I like them bringing in Blake Griffin. What I didn't understand was all right, let's see if we back in business. Sorry about that, man. All right, back to business. So we're back here. Put a 1 in the chat if you can hear me. Make sure you can see me. Sorry about that. We got a call that came through. Can I get a 1 in the chat if you can hear me? Let me know what the status is. Because we got to touch on the Lakers situation now. All right, we're back. Sorry about that, fellas. Sorry about that. Let's go ahead and make sure we hit that like button again. We're back in the building. All right, let's go back through some of these comments so we can see some of the things. Unfortunately, I must have missed some of everybody's comments. We've got here Caden Williams. What's going on, Caden? What's going on, Skylar? Jason says the Drummond move is better. I agree, man. I agree. We're going to definitely get to that for sure. Drummond is much bigger signing than Aldridge to the Nets. I agree. Matthews, what's going on, man? What's going on? Listen, I see the Clippers said, well, I'm going to be honest with you. Listen, bad boy. The Clippers, we're gonna touch on the Clippers. I don't want to go too fast. We'll definitely touch on that. All right, let's go ahead and get back into this thing, man. So I don't know where the video cut off, but I'm gonna pick it up from right here. When it comes to the Brooklyn Nets, the summary is this. I love the move because it keeps Lamarcus Aldridge away from the Miami Heat, which I think was going to be a big factor had they got him. But I don't necessarily like the fit with Aldridge to the Nets because he doesn't serve the biggest need that they had, which was rebounding and defense. So that I don't think was the best fit, but I see that he can still help them, specifically on the offensive end, being able to spread the floor. So those were the comments that I made on the Nets prior to us getting disconnected. Now, what I was also saying was that the biggest need that the Brooklyn Nets had was rebounding and defense, and the person that they really needed to get was actually Andre Drummond. They didn't get him. He chose to go to the LA Lakers, and to me, game's over. Let's be very clear. The Lakers now are going to be, they're already the best defensive team in the NBA. And this is without Anthony Davis playing a lot of the season due to injury. The Lakers are still, as of right now, without LeBron in the game, without Anthony Davis in the game, they're still holding down the #1 spot as far as the best defense in the game. Now you add the best rebounder. Andre Drummond is the best rebounder in the NBA, not just in the NBA. We're talking about his entire era, and we're talking about arguably one of the top maybe 10, 15 rebounders of all time. That's how dominant he's been. 4 of the last 5 years, he's won the NBA rebounding title. So this man here is a walking double-double monster, right? He's got the most 20 games of anybody since 2013. I mean, listen, this guy right here, man, is on a whole nother level when it comes to gobbling up rebounds, giving his team second chance opportunities. That's what he brings. And on defense, he's not Anthony Davis or Giannis on defense, but he's not a slouch on defense. One of the things that he does is he's quick hands. He's got quick hands. He's able to play passing lanes very well. He's able to still be a solid rim protector. Listen, Andre Drummond is no slouch. Now, where his weaknesses are the free throw line and shooting. He's not going to give you that. But what he brings you is exactly what Dwight Howard and JaVale McGee brought the Lakers last year. He's just a better version of that. He's an athletic guy who can play above the rim. He can set solid screens, roll. He's not a pick-and-pop guy like Gasol. So Gasol's going to now move to the bench, giving them quality depth. But he's going to be a pick-and-roll player. When you got somebody like LeBron James, we saw what he could do resurrecting Dwight Howard's career. We saw what he could do with JaVale McGee, allowing him to get actually get picked up by the Denver Nuggets, right? So I think we're going to see the same thing with Andre Drummond. What I'm excited to see mostly is Anthony Davis and Andre Drummond together in that front court. When you put this kind of size and length on that, listen, this is what you're going to see, all right? We're talking about literally contrasting styles. The Brooklyn Nets, they're perimeter and offensive oriented. The Lakers are defensive and interior oriented. This front line of LeBron James, Anthony Davis, and Andre Drummond, man, I'm hard pressed to find a front line throughout all of NBA history that's better than that. Like, I'm sitting here and I'm thinking, you got the Bird, the McHales, the Robert Parishes, you got those kind of front lines, but I mean, when you start really thinking about it, you got the Tim Duncan and David Robinson front lines, right? But this is similar. The Andre Drummond, Anthony Davis is similar to the Tim Duncan, David Robinson front line. I mean, at that point of their careers where the Spurs big men, Twin Towers lined up together. This is going to be special, and this is going to be dominant. Now, granted, this is probably going to be a one-year rental. Andre Drummond's probably going to come in, he's going to play 1 year with them, and then get a payday, maybe go to New York or somewhere else. So, Laker fans, pump your brakes. You got to enjoy this while it lasts. But for this year, for the rest of 2021, you tell me who you have as the favorites. Let's go to the chat. Let me know, who do you have as the NBA favorites? As of today, we're going to say health for everybody is up and running. We're going to talk about Kevin Durant being healthy, Anthony Davis, LeBron James. Everybody's healthy. If everybody's healthy, who do you have as the favorites right now to win the NBA championship? Caden's got Nets in 6. Okay, I respect that, bro. JSD's got Nets. Let's see. Lakers for life says the main question people have now is Andre Drummond, can he play defense? Lakers for life. I'm gonna answer it like this. JaVale McGee and Dwight Howard were athletic rim protectors, right? And everybody knows them for defense. Look at the amount of shot blocks that they had and compare that to Andre Drummond. That's number one. Number two, look at the steals. That's one of the things, a lot of times people, when we think about defense, people only look at, for big men, they only look at shot blocks. And they consider that the only way to gauge defense. You can't just look at block shots as far as just defense. Look at a guy, for instance, like Montrezl Harrell. Montrezl Harrell this year and Montrezl Harrell last year has been the #1 in the NBA for big men as far as taking charges. That's defense. That's getting stops. A guy like Marcus Aldridge, he's not an athletic defender, but Marcus Aldridge is an underrated defender because he's a solid position defender, and he's been one of the biggest challenges going up against a guy like Joel Embiid and even Joker, because he's solid. He's a smart IQ defender. So you got different types of defenders. What Andre Drummond is going to bring is a big man who's got long wingspan, who plays the pass lane very well. He gets a lot of steals. I think he was like top 4 or 5 in the steals department before he got this whole Cleveland situation where they kind of just started sitting him down. He was getting a lot of steals, and a guy that can get you over a steal a game, over a block a game, he's going to affect the defensive end, but most importantly, the defensive rebound. You got to remember this. Defense doesn't stop when you get a block. Defense doesn't stop until you gain possession of the ball. Andre Drummond is going to help defensive possessions end. He's going to end the defensive possessions and get us off and running, as the Lakers are one of the best fast break teams in the NBA. When you add, see, this is the biggest upgrade. Let's think about it like this. Marc Gasol, what were some of the weaknesses that Marc Gasol had? His inability to rebound, to really get down there and give us second chance shots on the offensive end, as well as being able to be an athletic rim protector, a lob threat on offense. So you didn't have that ability to set the pick, roll, and attract the defense, giving the ball handler more space to operate. He was picking and popping, and a lot of times he wasn't really knocking down those offensive threes as consistently as we may have liked. So now you get an Andre Drummond who now is going to play that Dwight Howard, that JaVale McGee role where he's picking and rolling. Now the defense has to drop low to stop that lob threat. And LeBron James is such a smart IQ ball player. He's going to make Andre Drummond look, if you thought he made Dwight Howard look good, wait till he gets his hands on Andre Drummond. And then from a defensive stance, once again, being able to secure the ball and get the offense out in transition, I mean, there's not many better that can do that than Andre Drummond. So I love this addition for the Lakers. I think, once again, personally, I think it definitely puts them above. Let's look at what we got here in the chat. Skylar says Drummond will have a huge impact on the offensive glass. Lakers are 6th in defensive rebound, but fall all the way down to 17th on offensive rebound. It says if he gets into the top 10 rebounding team on both sides, that's huge. Listen, Skylar, the comment is perfect. And once again, understand why the Lakers' offensive rebound has been so low, as you so eloquently put it. When you've got your biggest man, your center, Marc Gasol, playing on the perimeter, shooting jump shots, and don't get me wrong, I like Marc Gasol, but he changed the dynamic of this Laker offense. See, Montrezl Harrell can play closer to the basket, which means he's going to get more rebounds. When Marc Gasol is playing more out on the perimeter, taking perimeter jump shots, or standing on the perimeter, he's not able to get those offensive rebounds. Andre Drummond is going to be on that box. He's going to play around the rim. He's going to gobble up offensive rebounds. I think he's averaging 4.7 offensive rebounds for his career. When you got a guy that can give you 4 or 5 different second chance opportunities per game, that's major. And now it's going to be even harder to keep him off the glass because you got Anthony Davis and LeBron James you got to worry about from crashing the glass. This Laker team here just went from a contender to the top of the heap, in my opinion. Let's see, Jason says, your stream is back to working. Yeah, Jason, man, I had a call that came through, man, so I apologize for that. I don't know what I thought I set my do not disturb on it, but I guess I forgot to do that, so I gotta remember next time. That boy says, man, the Lakers are scared. Absolutely. I'm going to be back on. I'm going to like this video on my thread. I appreciate that, Jason. Thank you. Definitely appreciate that, man. Listen, make sure everybody hits the like in the on this. Share it out. Make sure you leave a comment. I appreciate all the support, man. This is definitely a free way to support the channel and just continue to help this channel grow. I appreciate it. So let me know, man, when it comes to that Brooklyn Nets pick. I want to take it back to Brooklyn for a second. Because as you know, I'm a Laker fan, so yes, there may be some Laker bias that I have, even though I think this is an amazing pickup. Let's talk about Brooklyn. Because for me, the pros to this, once again, the pros to adding Lamarcus Aldridge, which when I saw it, I'm going to be honest with you, I was absolutely shocked. I was floored. I did not expect that one. Adding Lamarcus Aldridge is going to open up that floor for James Harden. It's going to open it up for Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving. Those driving lanes are going to be there because Blake Griffin and Lamarcus Aldridge can both shoot from the perimeter. Whereas a guy like DeAndre Jordan has to hang around the basket, and even if he's out setting picks up top, his defender can drop back because he's not worried about him shooting. So that's going to help their offense. But are you concerned, for anybody who's saying the Nets are going to win? I think Caden said Nets in 6. What is your concern about the Nets defense, or do you not have any concerns about the defense? Because let's be very clear. The Nets right now are ranked 26th in defense in the entire NBA. That's bottom of the barrel defense. No team in NBA history has ever been that low and won a championship. Defense wins championships. So as offensively talented as this team is, I'm still worried about their defense. Specifically getting to the finals. Listen, I would love for nothing more than a Lakers-Nets finals. But I'm a little hesitant to go with the Nets right now, as loaded as they are, and they are absolutely loaded. Here's my hesitancy. When they go up against the Philadelphia 76ers or the Milwaukee Bucks, we know that their offense is going to be elite, but those are elite defensive teams. And those teams are big up front. When you got Joel Embiid, who's guarding Joel Embiid for the Brooklyn Nets? Are they putting Lamarcus Aldridge on him? Are you putting Blake Griffin on him? Because DeAndre Jordan's coming off the bench at this point. So you're putting a non-defender on Joel Embiid, who, if healthy, all this is if healthy, if Joel Embiid comes back and is healthy and playing to the MVP level before, who's guarding him? The Philadelphia 76ers still, I think, match up very well with the Brooklyn Nets, despite this move. And the Milwaukee Bucks, they're under the radar adding key pieces. We saw them already have Brook Lopez and Giannis up front. Once again, size, length, defense. And now they added PJ Tucker. They also added Jeff Teague. Just added Jeff Teague. So now this this Milwaukee Bucks team, they're getting deeper. This Brooklyn Nets team is out there making, pickups is going to help their defense, help their depth. Like, I want to know from those who are pro Nets, saying that the Nets are going to win, which I saw in the comment, let me know what is your concern, if any, about their defense. Let's see what we got to say. Karan says, who do you think the Raptors should pick up? I'm going to definitely get to that. We'll get to that in a second, Karan. Jason says, he says first and second and third. Okay. Lakers says, I'm concerned on how Steve Nash will react in hostile situations he has no experience. Well, I think I'm not necessarily worried about Steve Nash. I'm going to be honest with you, because even though he's the head coach, Mike D'Antoni's really running this team. I mean, that's how I look at it. D'Antoni's, and this is why you can see the Steve Nash-D'Antoni situation works so perfectly. They're almost interchangeable because they have the same mentality. Nash was never a defender in the NBA. He was all offense. Mike D'Antoni, his coaching style, which is why Nash was so perfect for him, was all offense, 7 seconds or less. And it was never any focus really on defense. So this team, the way they're constructing this team is the exact same way. All offense, no defense. So I'm not necessarily worried about Steve Nash, but I do have concerns about the philosophy of this team, which is built around all offense and no defense. Bad Boy says DeAndre Jordan and KD can't keep AD Drummond off the glass. Man, they can't. They can't, bro. Like, I mean, listen, the Lakers, once again, they're already the best defensive team. They're about to become the best rebounding team. How do you deal with that when on offense you've got the best offense all around offensive player in the game? Not just for scoring, but the ability to score and to be able to create easy shots for others. Who's better than LeBron James in the game today? And does it in the playoffs? We're not talking about regular season like James Harden. We're talking about in the playoffs. Who's better at doing that in the playoffs than LeBron James? So offensively, the pieces are there, and the defensive, I mean, goodness. I don't know, man. I don't know. Maybe it's me. Maybe I'm just missing something. Let's see. I want to make sure I get everybody. Skylar says, I think people are ripping the Lakers role players way too much. What they don't realize is that they play their best when AD and LeBron are on the floor. Yeah, absolutely. Matthews had a 16-point game this season, for sure. So now you got a rebounding demon in Andre Drummond and pairing him with LeBron is scary every other team in the West. Look what he did with Dwight. Exactly. And I love the age of Andre Drummond. Andre Drummond he's not washed, right? Like this year's got 3 20-20 games after like 17-13. So this isn't a washed Andre Drummond. Like the Nets are getting Blake Griffin and Lamarcus Aldridge, who are almost a shell of what they used to be. Andre Drummond is still in his prime. That's an issue. And he's playing with the best talent he's ever had around him. KJ React says, do you think a team with a balanced offense, defense, and dominant big man like Giannis or Embiid can take them down? Great question, KJ. Listen, my pick before the season, I'm gonna have to lay it out there. My pick before the season was Philly. And I have to be honest, I was disappointed with Philadelphia's moves at the deadline. They did bring in George Hill. I felt like they should have went a little more all in on getting Kyle Lowry. But as it still stands, Philly right now is if Joel Embiid is able to get back to playing to the level he was before he got injured, Philly's my pick. If Joel Embiid is 80%, maybe even 90% of what he was, then I would go and lean with another team. But right now, I'm still going Philly because you have that right now. They're elite defensively. Okay, similar to the Lakers, they're elite defensively, and they got size at multiple positions. Embiid is a defender. Ben Simmons is up in the running for Defensive Player of the Year, and he's got a good size where you can put him on a Kevin Durant. You got perimeter defense when you talk about Matisse Thybulle, Danny Green. So this team here has the defense, and then they also have knockdown shooters on offense when you're talking about Seth Curry, when you're talking about Tobias Harris, when you're talking about even a Danny Green who's streaky, but Danny Green can light you up. So this team here, man, like, I like Philly. And once again, when it comes to Milwaukee's flying under the radar. Now, I know they crashed and burned last year, but this Milwaukee team is not the same as last year. When they added Drew Holiday, that's a legitimate defender. You have Giannis, who's reigning Defensive Player of the Year. You've got Brook Lopez, who's a legitimate rim protector. Even though he doesn't really rebound very well, he's a legitimate rim protector. You bring in a PJ Tucker, who's a legitimate 3-and-D wing player. Like, this team is steadily getting better on both ends of the court. I've been they've been very underwhelming. I haven't really been impressed with them thus far to begin the season, but they're slowly starting to pick it up. So Milwaukee's in that top three. One of those three will definitely go into the finals. If I had to pick one as of today, I would put a little caveat in there and say, if Joel Embiid is healthy, I'm going with him. If not, that's a tough one, man. If Milwaukee and Brooklyn face in the second round or the conference finals, which wouldn't be conference finals, but I think maybe second round, I think I would go Brooklyn. Honestly, I think I would go Brooklyn, and here's the reason why. Brook Lopez plays too much on the perimeter for me. And the way that you're going to beat Brooklyn, in my opinion, is pounding them in the paint. And that's where Joel Embiid comes in. That's where a guy like Ben Simmons can, attacking the paint can get in there. That's where a guy like Dwight Howard coming off the bench can manhandle guys down low. I like the size and the defense that Philly brings more so than Milwaukee. And so I'm leaning toward Brooklyn over Bucks, but I love these pickups that the Bucks keep making. Like I said, the Jeff Teague pickup, having him come off the bench, I love that. The backup Drew Holiday, being able to get PJ Tucker. So I like the moves that I'm continuously seeing Milwaukee make. They're closing the gap, but I still got Brooklyn slightly overhead of Milwaukee. Let's see. So Kieran, I hope I'm pronouncing your name right, man. Karan says, do you think the Denver Nuggets are the threat to the Lakers? Listen, man, I'm going to be honest with you. I love what I saw from Denver. Picking up JaVale McGee and picking up Aaron Gordon. Listen, kudos to their management team for identifying their weaknesses and going to get it. When you lose Mason Plumlee, when you lose Jeremy Grant, you lose athleticism, you lose a lot of vertical threats, and they went and replaced that on a whole nother level when you bring in the Aaron Gordon and the JaVale McGee. Jokic is going to be able to play this point center position that he plays. He's going to be able to throw lobs to these guys. So I'm excited to see that. Denver has closed the gap. But the reason I can't put Denver in the conference finals this year, I think the Clippers have made the right moves, man. The Clippers have made the moves that I said last year they needed to make. Last year, I said, you could check the tapes. Two things that stood out to me what the Clippers needed that they did not have. They needed a big man that could defend the paint and stretch the floor on offense. They had Montrezl Harrell and had Zubac, and neither one of them could do that. Now they go and get Ibaka. He does that perfectly for them. They also needed a point guard who was a true facilitating point guard. They didn't have that last year, and up until the deadline, they didn't have that before going out and getting the perfect player for them and their roster in Rajon Rondo. He's a champion, bona fide leader. Very underrated for the Lakers last year. That was the perfect person for them to get. Now, unfortunately, they took a loss to their scoring, especially the scoring off the bench, giving up Lou Williams. But I think the net of it was a slight advantage, a slight upgrade, because Rondo's going to make the game easier for Paul Pierce, who needs it the most, especially in the playoffs, and for Kawhi Leonard. So I think Rondo and his just his leadership and his gamesmanship, his competitiveness, his IQ. I mean, besides LeBron James, he may be the smartest, most intelligent basketball player out there. So I love the pickup of Rajon Rondo to the Clippers, which I think is going to still keep them slightly ahead of the Denver Nuggets. I would love to see that matchup, and I know the Clippers want to see that matchup, but I would go with the Clippers if they decide to meet them. Cream of Wheat, welcome to the channel, man. Make sure you subscribe. Listen, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, everybody stop right now. Hit that subscribe button. If you haven't hit the like on this video, hit that like button. Let's get these numbers up as high as we can get them. Creamy Week, to answer your question, I got the Lakers winning the championship, man. I think the addition of Drummond, a walking double-double, an absolute defensive rebounding monster. He's not an elite, he's not a Giannis Antetokounmpo or Anthony Davis on defense. But what he is on the glass, he's the closest thing that we've seen. Don't take this for a grain of salt, what I'm saying. He's the closest thing we've seen since Dennis Rodman or Ben Wallace. Like, he rebounds on that level with those elite type rebounders. And for his era, he's the best rebounder of his era. He's a walking 13, 14 rebound guy, and he's a consistent 20-20 guy in comparison to the rest of the league. He's already had 3 this year since 2013. I think he's got like 40, if I'm not mistaken, like 40 20-20 games. And the next guy, the next highest guy, has only got 15. He's got 40. He's got almost 3 times as many 20-20 games since 2013 as anybody else in the league. So he's a legitimate big man. Still in his prime, healthy, obviously motivated. So adding him to this front line of Anthony Davis and LeBron James, I got to go with them, man. Caden says, nah, he's sticking with the Nets in 6 or 7. I think I'm starting to get you, you're starting to come to my side a little bit, Caden, because at first you said Nets in 6, now you said 6 or 7. So I think you're starting to wake up to the reality that the Nets may not be what you really think that they are. Come on over to the dark side, baby. Come on over here. Bad Boy Flesh says, you think Battle of LA will happen this year? Absolutely. I think we're going to see that in the conference finals. I hope we see that in the conference finals. Here's the worst, and this is the unfortunate part. With Anthony Davis and LeBron James out, the Lakers' likelihood of falling down the standings is real, man. We got to call it what it is. They're on a 2-game win streak, but it was against 2 teams they needed to beat. They got the job done, but now you got a rough schedule coming up. So I expect the Lakers to lose some games that they may not have lost had you had LeBron and Anthony Davis there. So falling down the standings is a legitimate possibility. That means we could possibly see the Lakers versus the Clippers in the first round, which nobody would want to see. It's a possibility. Maybe second round. Hopefully, we see it in the conference finals. But you just got to wait and see how that whole seeding lines up. But to me, those are the 2 best teams in the West, Lakers and Clippers. Creamy Week says, Andre versus Embiid in the finals. Listen, I'm glad you said that, Creamy Week. Listen, that to me, and a lot of people may disagree, this Andre Drummond move was for 2 teams. This move was for the Denver Nuggets because they got Jokic, and for the Philadelphia 76ers because they got Joel Embiid. Marc Gasol, and if you go back and look at the numbers that Joel Embiid and Jokic were averaging prior to their games playing against the Lakers, and Marc Gasol held both of those guys under their averages. So he's a good positional defender, and he's best used against those big, lumbering big men who could score on the low block. But that's only 2 teams out of the 29 competitors. So Marc Gasol I think he's going to be similar to how Dwight Howard was in the playoffs last year in this sense. It's going to be serious. He's not even going to play. He's going to be situational when you play against those 2 teams, in my opinion. Because any other team, you don't really need Marc Gasol. You can just go with Trez and Drummond. But against those teams, you want Andre Drummond battling with his big body, battling against those guys. And Marc Gasol coming and play as well. Montrezl Harrell's too small to go up against Jokic. We saw that last year. And against Joel Embiid, he's really got no chance against Joel Embiid. So adding Drummond takes the pressure off of Marc Gasol to have to be the main defender against those 2 guys. And I think Drummond will help in that situation. But I agree with you. I can't agree enough. Imagine Andre Drummond versus Joel Embiid, 2 mammoths in the finals. You're talking about Ben Simmons and LeBron James, and man, the storylines here, Dwight Howard, Anthony Davis, like the storylines of Danny Green and Dwight Howard winning a championship last year, and now possibly being on a team that could face them in the finals. Oh man, I love to see that. I would absolutely love to see that. So, but we gotta wait. We get a little too ahead of ourselves, but listen, it's definitely gonna be amazing. Let's go back up here just a little bit, see what we missed. M21 Trey says, is there a possibility the Clippers can win the championship? There's definitely a possibility. If I had to rank them, I would put the Clippers, like I said, the second best team in the West. I would put them, if I compared them against Philly, I don't think that they would beat Philly. I don't think that they would beat. I don't think they would beat Brooklyn either. Milwaukee, I would put Clippers over Milwaukee. What I put the Clippers? I would put. So right now, I would probably say they're probably about the fourth or fifth best team in the NBA, in my opinion. And I think that Philly or Brooklyn, if either one of those teams make the finals, I don't think the Clippers could beat them. So even if they got to the finals, I don't think that they could beat either one of those teams. So could they win the championship? Yes. Is it likely? It's not. It's not, but it's not because they haven't gotten better, because I do think that they have gotten better since last year. All right, let's see. We're going to take a couple more questions. We're going to wrap this up. I don't want this live to be too long. Oh, let me get my man Carry on. What's going on, brother? He says, is there anyone left in the buyout market that's notable? You know what? DeMarcus Cousins. I don't know why DeMarcus Cousins is still on the buyout market, but listen, bro, somebody needs to scoop him up. Boston Celtics, Danny Ainge, I don't know what's going on with Danny Ainge. Somebody needs to, I don't want to say anything insinuating, but somebody needs to really check to see what's going on with Danny Ainge. Why has he not brought us some legitimate post help? Like, all these perimeter guys, Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Marcus Smart, Kemba Walker, and you're going to get Evan Fournier. Where's the big man? Like, I'm not getting it. Tristan Thompson's not, he can't be your best big man if you think you're going to make any noise. That's why they got a losing record right now. To answer your question, DeMarcus Cousins. That's the guy that a team like Golden State should look at. That's a team like Boston should look at. That's a team like the Charlotte Hornets possibly should look at. It's so many teams. The New York Knicks. New York Knicks just lost Mitchell Robinson. They should look at him. There's a lot of teams out here that need a big man, a skilled big man, and DeMarcus Cousins is sitting on the sideline like just waiting for a job offer. I don't get it. You talking about the East or the West? Scott, I don't understand the question. Oh, you two are talking to each other. Okay. Just because you have steaks and blocks doesn't mean. I agree. Just because you have steals and blocks does not mean you're a good defender. Very good point. But it's more to it than just the stats. You have to look at the individual matchups, because, like, for instance, Marc Gasol is a good example. Marc Gasol is a solid positional defender. He's not an athletic above the rim defender, but he's good at that. Montrezl Harrell gets a lot of charges, which doesn't show up in the traditional stat sheet. But Montrezl Harrell has led the NBA. This year's leading and last year led the NBA in charges taken for big men. So a lot of times you can't just look at steals and blocks and say somebody's a good defender or not. Anthony Davis, to me, should have won Defensive Player of the Year last year. The stats were there, but they gave it to Giannis because of some advanced analytics. At the end of the day, it's hard to really determine if you're only looking at the stats. But at the end of the day, stats do matter because it shows your impact that you can actually quantify. But I agree with you. You can't just look at the stats. So I do understand what you mean. Let's see here. Somebody says, how do you think the Portland Trailblazers will rank in the West? Portland was my team, and I can't remember who I was having a conversation with, but I told before the season to watch for Portland because preseason I had them ranked as the top 3 seed in the West. Could they still get it there? Possibly. They may end up just being in that 4th, 5th spot range. But I like Portland, man. I like Portland. I like them adding Norman Powell. If they get healthy, that's what hurt them last year. That's what's hurting them again this year is health. They got to get healthy. But if they get healthy, Portland could be a sneaky team, man, because they got size, they've got depth, they've obviously got an elite backcourt. So at the end of the day, I got to see them get healthy first. But if they're healthy, they're going to be one of the biggest threats to the Lakers as far as being able to challenge or being able to try to slow the Lakers down from making the NBA Finals. Portland is, because they have that size when you're talking on Nurkic up there up front if he's healthy. So I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. Creamy Wee says, does Anthony Davis get injured in the playoffs like Kevin Durant? I hope not. I mean, we wouldn't even want that to happen. Caden says Nets are all offense. They are. They are all offense, and that has never won a championship. Caden, think about this. Even the Golden State Warriors, who to me are the greatest offense of all time. I'm talking about the Warriors with Kevin Durant, Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Draymond Green, Andre Iguodala. To me, that's the greatest offense of all time, okay? Not the greatest team, but the greatest offense. This Brooklyn Nets team has the potential. We still got to see it on the court together. Mind you, Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, James Harden have only played about 7 games together so far. So we got to see how those three, along with Blake Griffin and Lamarcus Aldridge, fit together. but this has the potential to be the greatest offense of all time. But even that Golden State team that, as of today, has the greatest offense of all time, they had elite defenders. Klay Thompson is an elite positional perimeter defender. Draymond Green, as we know, elite defender. Andre Iguodala, elite defender. So they weren't just all offense. Those Golden State championship teams, they were like top 10, top 11 defenses. I think one year top 5 defense in the NBA. So they were not just offense. They also were elite defensively. Defense is always going to win championships, man. And so Brooklyn Nets, right now, they've got to improve their defense. Let's take a couple more questions. Newman says, why isn't C.J. McCollum mentioned in the same breath as Devin Booker and Bradley Beal? Well, one reason is that he's never made an all-star team. Yes, he's played in the West. And yes, the West is loaded with talent. But as we just saw with Devin Booker, he's able to make the all-star team. Devin Booker has shown he can be the best player on a team. On a team right now that is number 2 in the Western Conference. C.J. McCollum, yes, he's playing behind Dame Lillard. But we got to see, can C.J. be the best player on a team, on any team, number one, and if he has his own team, how good of a team can that team really be? So Bradley Beal, Devin Booker, these guys are elite number 1 option scorers. C.J. McCollum has never proven he could be that, so that's why people don't put him in that same breath, even though I think he's a tier 2 shooting guard that is definitely legitimate. Let's see. Katie says the Nuggets have a real shot at upsetting the Lakers. I think adding JaVale McGee, adding Aaron Gordon with Jokic, I like that. Don't get me wrong. I definitely like that. I don't think that they have enough. At the end of the day, let's be very clear. Star power wins titles. If you really think back, you can't really think of too many teams that won a championship without having star power. Now, the Nuggets have star power. Jokic is an absolute superstar. To me, he's the best center in the game, okay? But my point of saying it is that LeBron is the best player in the game. Anthony Davis, to me, he's a better player than Jokic. Jokic is having a better season, but I think overall, we're talking offense, defense, everything included, I think Anthony Davis is a better player than Jokic. So even as good as Jokic is, as good as he's playing this season, which is the MVP level season he's having, the Denver Nuggets are still struggling somewhat to win games on the level that you would think they should win with his talent and his production. That lets me know it's the team, it's the guys around him. Jamal Murray didn't take that jump that a lot of people thought he was going to take from after seeing him in the bubble. So the talent around Jokic is what I'm more concerned about than actually Jokic itself. And the biggest issues are defense. That's why I like the addition of JaVale McGee, because he brings that rim protection and that athleticism. Aaron Gordon doesn't really bring you the defense. He has defensive potential, but he's not really known for his defense. Doesn't really impact that end of the court as much as you may like with his athleticism. But that athleticism is going to help them on the offense, help them rebounding, and so I like that addition as well. I just don't think it's enough to beat the Lakers. If the Lakers are healthy, I just don't see anybody in the West being able to beat them. All right, a couple more questions. So, Into One says, will the Jazz be a threat to the West in the playoffs? Great question. Great question. And my issue with the Jazz is, well, first of all, let me say this. The Jazz are legit, okay? The Jazz, and I didn't necessarily think I would have said this before the season. Well, I definitely didn't say it before the season. But they're a legitimate title contender. I mean, they've got 2 bona fide players. But my only issue with them is that as good of a team as they are, they remind me of the Atlanta Hawks back when they won like 60 games. They remind me, and I appreciate the chat, man, the super chat from C. Karen says, keep up the good work. Thank you, brother. I appreciate the tip. Thank you so much. The Utah Jazz remind me a lot of that Atlanta team where they had multiple All-Stars, right? I think Atlanta that year got 4 All-Stars in the game. And they were solid, but they just didn't have any real superstars. Like, Donovan Mitchell's an All-Star. Rudy Gobert's an All-Star. But would you really say that any of those players or either of those players are superstars? I don't think either one are. To me, neither one of those guys are bona fide, without a question, top 10 players. And so I'm not saying you necessarily need it because we've seen teams win championships without it, like the Detroit Pistons of 2004 won the championship without having an elite superstar top 10 player. But what that team had was elite defense. They were like, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, the best defensive team in the NBA that year. And this Utah team, as great as they are, they rely a lot on jump shots. Their defense should be better when you got Rudy Gobert. He's an elite defender, but they don't have a lot of elite defenders around him. And so their defense, though good, is not great, or as great as it could be. They're not up there with the Lakers and the Sixers on the defensive end. And they rely so much on jump shots that sometimes when the pressure's on in the playoffs, those jump shots just don't land. And so do they have that low post presence that you can throw the ball to and go get an easy basket for himself? That's not Rudy Gobert's game. So I just don't like the Utah Jazz as a legitimate, as a real thing. They are a contender. They are a contender. On paper, they check a lot of the boxes that contenders have. But they just don't. They don't do it for me. And I'm gonna do some videos coming up soon, and I'm gonna break down my top 5 NBA title contenders, and I'm gonna do videos for each one of the teams as far as why they can win the championship. So make sure you stick around for that. Listen, if you haven't subscribed, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Hit that like button before we get out of here. Listen, I appreciate everybody for joining in on this live, man. Listen, the Lakers, they got better. The Nets, they got better. Now the question is there anybody that's gonna get bought out? Is there any other teams going to make any more additions? We just saw, like I said, Jeff T just signed with the Milwaukee Bucks. What's the Philadelphia 76ers going to do? We saw the Clippers add Rajon Rondo. We saw the Nuggets get better. So the NBA is absolutely bananas right now. But the one thing we got to all hope for as NBA fans, we got to hope for health for these stars. Joel Embiid, hurry up and get back. Kevin Durant, hurry up and get back. LeBron, Anthony Davis, hurry up and get back so that we can see these teams at their full potential going head to head, and hopefully we'll get to see a NBA Finals where the Lakers and the Nets could meet and go head to head and these two super teams will square off. Until then, man, y'all stay safe in the streets. General Hannibal X, I'm out. Peace.